So you've got obviously a huge medium of different platforms that you can utilize. So if we start at the top, obviously you've got Facebook is the world's biggest social media platform. It's very much, it's a kind of a one-way conversation. You're kind of promoting and telling people what you think they might want to hear. You will get some engagement as a result, and you'll get comments and likes and shares. But it's not necessarily the conversational tool that something like Twitter is, for example, where it's very much a two-way conversation. So it's going to be a case of perhaps putting a question out there, then reacting to what the audience have to say, and discussing that, and then elaborating upon it. And yeah, I mean, that's where those two particular platforms differ. Obviously, then got things like YouTube, where it's all about video. You've got Instagram, where it's all about imagery. I'm not sure whether that has necessarily as much scope for the first two that I mentioned in terms of author use, certainly. But then you've got another big one in LinkedIn. Obviously, a lot of these questions and everything that's sort of surrounded us to this point in terms of Author Hub has all come from LinkedIn. So that's where you're going to find the professionals and really like-minded authors like yourselves, and they're going to be accessible through LinkedIn, and you're going to be able to establish who they are just through their profile. So I think they're sort of the main differences. Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, and what I would consider the best tool for you guys as an author, I think would probably be Twitter. That can be managed through something like Hootsuite. You get a lot of different options. You can set up streams, and it's certainly worth looking into. Even the free trial is extremely good for Hootsuite, and the free account doesn't restrict you that much. And the analytics are really good as well. So if you want to see the performance of any tweets that you come up with, or any particular links that you then compose, you can use Hootsuite to find out what exactly that's done. Have you seen a lot of people going through to your website as a direct result of a tweet that you came up with, for example? And I think that's sort of where the differences lie anyway. But I think, yeah, for the most part, Twitter and Facebook, with a little bit of LinkedIn, are probably the key for authors anyway. What do you think, Sue?
Well, one thing not to be underestimated is the power of a bit of planning as well, because you've got all the tools and different apps that you could use on mobile and desktop and all of that at your disposal. But I think to step back a bit, and even pen and paper is quite a good tool, and just to think, right, well, what are the topics that I'm going to be talking about? If I write a blog, what am I going to be putting on the blog? I was looking into this the other day, and Paulo Coelho was writing a blog post every day. And that's going to sap all your time, and you might find at the end of the year you've written some great blog posts, but not a book. And I think to spend a bit of time just thinking, right, well, when am I going to tweet, or when am I going to update Facebook? Can I use the Facebook scheduling tool to maybe schedule 3 posts in one go that are going to go out all week? What are the topics that I'm going to avoid? That kind of thing, because social media is so interesting, and you can quite easily disappear down rabbit holes. You get into a conversation with someone, you find yourself tweeting about it. Maybe someone even says something negative about your book, and you don't know how to respond, and that can put you off track. So I think a bit of planning, what will you say in this particular situation? What tweets are you going to put out before launch? Could you schedule some tweets to go out if you're at the Hay Festival, while you're away all weekend? Can you schedule some content? So I think the best tool at your disposal is actually just a bit of time, even if it's half an hour a week, just to plan your activity. And you might find that half an hour actually saves you time in the long run, or it will certainly get rid of that awful nagging feeling of, oh no, I've got my blog and I haven't updated it for weeks, because you've put that effort in, that time in, to actually plan what's going out. So that's my top tip. It's free as well.
Definitely, yeah. I think evaluation is quite crucial as well. I mean, in this particular industry, it's going to be quite important to understand what people are reacting to. I mean, if you come up with a particular tweet and you get a massive response, then do more like that. If you get something that just sort of falls on its face, then steer clear of it. And if you can keep like a personal diary or a spreadsheet or something like that, where you're testing and you're trialing different types of content, and even different types of different times of the day. I mean, it might be more successful that you get a lot of your readership coming onto your Twitter account between 8 and 9 at night, for example. It might be that they're really reactive in the morning when they're just waking up. And until you trial it and you find out, you're not really going to know. So, yeah, trial and error, keep a track of progress, and then you're in a great position to evaluate sort of progress. And you need to also bear in mind the fact that Twitter is very much a natural timeline. You're going to see every tweet that goes out, whereas Facebook is a little bit cheeky with its algorithm. So you need to sort of bear that in mind too. And if you do post something on Facebook, it might have a little bit more longevity, but you're going to need to probably invest some money, because any Facebook algorithm that you use, if it's coming from like a Facebook page, is probably going to be fairly crippling. So it's definitely worth investigating sort of the way that either your Facebook page or your Twitter account is reacting with your audience. So definitely worth keeping an eye on those sort of things.
That was a really good point, I thought, as well, about what time of day you post your social media posts, because a lot of people, they feel under pressure to be posting around the clock, whereas if you think about it with books, people might be thinking about them during the day, but they're not really in that relaxed frame of mind where they're actually doing the reading themselves. They're not actually pursuing that activity. And you might find that actually pressure's off. You know, you can do your writing during the day and then just do a little bit of social media in the evening, the weekends, and that might be when people are most receptive. So don't feel that it's going to be this full-time job. It could be something that you can quite easily just do in a weekend. You know, so don't feel under pressure on that front.
Definitely, yeah.
And Andrew, is there anything else that you would add to that at all?
Definitely think about what really suits you with your workload and commitments. So if you think that you can't spend the time, or can't afford the time to spend writing lots of different blog posts, then maybe try Twitter and see how you fare with that. I mean, Ashley's made some very good points there on Facebook and how it can be quite difficult sometimes to get that content to appear in the right place, to the right audience, at the right time. But yeah, definitely try various different networks and find the one that suits you best. And using some of the tools that we've mentioned helps you kind of work out which ones have the best response. Also, we've not mentioned forums, so there may be some forums that are particularly well suited to maybe your niche subject. So maybe doing a little bit of research, or maybe asking people with that old word of mouth thing. That'll never catch on. Ask them to see which ones that they would use, which forums other people use, and see if you can start using those to find your audience.
And in terms of, Sue, you were mentioning the importance of planning. In terms of perhaps if an author was scheduling their tweets, is there, I don't know if there's an optimum amount of times you should be tweeting, or amount of times you should be making your account active on social media? Is it daily, weekly? I don't know if you have any advice for that at all.
That's one of the questions that we get asked a lot, and I suppose it depends what sort of quality content you've got to put out there. So if you can't think of much to say and you really are tweeting about your lunch and that kind of thing, then it's not going to be, you know, quality content. You know, you want to make your community feel that you are, this genuine person that you can engage with. But I'd say kind of minimum of a couple a day, which may sound like a tall order, but once you get into it and start replying back to people, you know, that's okay.